Hello there, Niiamahashong here, leader of the Trailblazer Oasis, where we bring together people who are ready to leverage their difference to make a difference. When I think about my Trailblazer journey, we really focus on seeing and coupling the outer successes that people have had with the inner journey that they needed to go on to become the person who could create the levels of success that they've done. And what comes to mind for me is a part of my journey. And part of this journey here is around an important distinction. The distinction here is an open versus closed distinction. So I can feel myself, I thought I was going to go in one direction, but now I think I have to just allow myself to just be open to what really showed up. I have a thing that says, I hide nothing and hold nothing back. And this is what I don't want to share with you. Over the last few years, I've been living in Singapore, and I came in, and within the first 2 weeks, I went to an entrepreneur event. And at that event, someone came in, was talking to me, and I shared about all the wonderful things I wanted to do in Singapore. Having just come from New York City, being in my early 30s, I was like, I'm going to come to Singapore. I'm going to meet all these people. We're going to do all these things, so on and so forth. We're going to be at each other's houses. They're going to be our best friends. We're going to learn all the culture. And it was wonderful. It was a really wonderful way of looking at everything. And that person actually was like, oh, you don't know Singapore. Like, that's not what's going to happen. Like, you're not going to go to anyone's houses, and they're not going to do this. You want to get to be someone's best friend in a day. Like, no, that takes time. That takes a lot of time. And you have to work really, 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 really slowly at it. And I remember leaving that conversation feeling very, very rejected, very dejected, I think is actually probably the word. I was like, I'm going to go and start building a life in a place where I don't know if I can be me, and I'm not going to really be able to really be accepted. That's the message that I took out of it. And I'm going to be alone, and being alone is my number one fear. And I've been starting to realize is that with that conversation, it took me down a path of actually closing myself off to things, closing myself off energetically to new opportunities, to new people. There was this idea in the back of my mind that if I'm coming off too friendly, if I'm coming off too warm, I'm actually going to be pushing other people away. And insidiously, it led to a part of me going through 2+ years, really not seeing opportunities as they were arriving around me. I was fortunate that just a few weeks ago, there was a coaching conference that took place in Singapore, and a coaching friend that I have made who lives in Thailand had come over. And we were getting ice cream at the end of his event. I didn't go to the event myself, but he came there for one of the coaches. And as we were leaving the ice cream place and we're walking down the streets of Singapore, some random person came and almost literally bumped into us. He was just walking around, and just boom, there he was. This is an empty street. There's no one else on the street. It's just the two of us. And it's somehow in this entire path, he comes and he literally runs into us. And what transpired was a conversation where this person revealed, he's like, I'm an investment banker. A ton of my friends have coaches. I don't have a coach, so on and so forth. And we were in this middle of this conversation. And I was like, okay, great. Talk to you later. Goodbye. And my friend was right with me, and he's also a coach, and he's like, Niiamah, what are you doing? Like, here goes someone who's almost asking for you to help him help serve him. He has an understanding of the coaching world, but doesn't actually have the opportunity to experience it himself. And there was just a part of me that just was not turning that on. I was like, no, I think we're good. I'm tired. Let's go home. And it was really interesting because we ended up, he's like, I'm getting his number anyway. And he got his number, and he's like, he'll talk to you. He sent it over to me. And the funny thing about it is we were walking, and he's like, what was that all about? And it was in his persistence there that it's like literally the world brought someone who's an investment banker who wants coaching, who was interested in this and all that. And you're closed off to it. When he said that, I realized, like, actually I have been closed off, and I've been closed for years in this space. And on the other side of it is being open. being open to new opportunities, to being able to see opportunities as they're coming, being able to see things that aren't even opportunities, but creating them as such in your world. I say to myself a lot, serendipity loves me. That's because there was an openness to it. When I go to the US, I can spend a week there, and in the span of a week, I'll meet 3 different celebrities just by walking down the street. And shout out to Bachelor Nation out there, because I've been meeting a lot of people from the Bachelor franchise. But all this comes in, and I realize that when I'm out of Singapore, I'm able to create, to be so attracting and so open in the world that all these new opportunities come to me, even the ones that are really rare to occur, and they happen at a rapid pace. But when I come back here, I take on a different persona. I close that energy off. So I've been practicing over the last few weeks to really get into the spirit of opening up once again. And part of that has come with the energy of practicing gratitude once again, and really allowing myself to see the world working for me, And so I'm going to invite us here, as we're looking at our journeys here, to look at where we might have closed ourselves off to opportunity, even when the world is knocking on our door. And I'm going to invite you to take on a bit of being just 0.01% more open this next week. It's actually in the spirit of openness that leads me to the person that I get to serve here today. And her name is Tam, and I'll be bringing her on in just a bit. But Tom and I met because of someone else's openness. We met in Singapore through a mutual friend, and it really took off into this space of really supporting someone who's created a lot of success in very unexpected ways in her own specific way. I'll let Tom go in and really introduce yourself here so we can get a chance to know her. But there's a reason why you're here, Tom, and I'm really, really wonderful. Really, really glad to have you on here. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. So should I introduce myself to the audience?
Yeah. I think, and the way I look at it here is let's not even worry about the audience. Every once in a while, I might talk out to the rest of the other outliers and trailblazers that's listening, but they'll get what they need to get from this conversation, right? Let's almost imagine it's just me and you here, right?
Okay.
I am really curious about you. I'm curious about I'm curious about your journey, your outer journey, the journeys of I see we got introduced, about a year and a half ago, I want to say, maybe a little longer. And I saw you as someone who was already doing quite a lot in the world. I'd love to just understand more about you and your journey up until this point, and then we can spend some time jumping off from there.
Yeah. So when we first met each other, I was working. I'm still working. So I was for a business trip in Singapore for my company, and so basically till that point, I have been working in the company for 3 years already. This is my family business. We work in technologies and logistics, and it was a very interesting journey for me. So basically, what happened is that So I took a gap year after high school. After I graduated high school, I took a gap year and I started working. And during that gap year, it's also my time to preparing to go abroad to study. So I'm based in Vietnam, and it's commonly known to, try in college you would try to see if you want to study abroad or not. So I was on my way to prepare. I got admission already. I already got a scholarship to go and all that. So I was waiting for that trip to happen. But then that gap year happened, and I was working with one of the very interesting projects. So the project I work in is basically a government project that help Vietnamese brands and products to export better. We help them to connect with the trade promoters overseas with other countries, and we help to organize sellers to meet with buyers and all those events. And from that experience, I was very conflicted, like towards the end of that gap year, because I realized that the amount of experience and amount of lessons that I can learn from being working is from this space specifically is far tremendous than just go overseas and study at a regular university. So so after that project is finished, then I joined my family business. And at the time, it was a very difficult time. We recently cut one of the big source of capital that we have, so we no longer have the fund that we used to have anymore. We have to fight every day to earn revenue, and then just to cover the basic costs. Like every single month, I was just rather for the beginning of every month because it's very scary, because you have to pay all the employee staff, the salaries, all the costs, all the electricity and all stuff. And that at the time, like we have to make sure that we have enough revenue cash flow every single month. And basically it was my responsibility to take care and bring in those cash flow. So so it was very challenging, and I learned a lot from it. And by the time I met you, it would be 3 years after I joined the company. And since then, we able to make our first profitable year from that first year that I came in. And then like by the third year, the one that when I met you is when we started to working with overseas partners to bring in more solutions, and we expanded, and we were like looking to expand overseas, setting out branches overseas as well. Yeah, so it's definitely a very interesting journey for me right now. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting because you're like, I'm on a gap year, I'm headed in one direction, and then an opportunity came up and you decided to go off and do something different. And there was something, I think it's in that spirit, the spirit of like the person who would make the decision to go in to follow growth through this path. I think that's really what it is. Like it seemed like the growth magnet for you. That's really what started to intrigue me. So why don't you tell us more about what you're doing now? What are some of the things that are coming up for you at this point in your journey? Where are you headed now? And let's go on from there.
Yeah. So right now I'm still working with my family business. So so back 5 years ago, so it's been 5 years since that journey started. I worked from the bottom up to from being a very small employee. So now I'm being the directors, the business development directors of the company. So I'm in charge of like new partnerships, new deals, and all the stuff for the big projects, the big deals in the companies, and I went and handle it. However, since the last year basically is a year that I learned how to step back from the business. I learned to step back from the team so that I can let them do their work. So so before that, because I have to be very involved with the company, so I'm kind of a micromanagement person, and because I also recruit mostly fresh graduates, so I have to like teaching them along like a lot. But then last year, our team changed. There are more experienced people in, and I have to really learn to step back from it. And actually, last year was, I would say, it's very self-discovering, because I have to step back on it. I have to deal with the feeling of guilty of not doing as much work as I used to be. You know, because now it's no longer the operations, administration stuff anymore. It's just more of the So the operations stuff is like lift up my duties. So now I feel guilty, and there was a time like last year, I was just confused, and I just like, I don't even know if what I should do. So now, but then I took advantage of that year as well, because I have much more free time. So I decided I can leverage those time now that I have for more self-improvement and learning and more skill sets that I feel I need. And during a lot of conversation, I met a lot of people for the past few years. I had a lot of conversation, and then last year I realized something that a lot of people I have in common. A lot of people that I consider friends, or people that I consider we have the connections, all the people that we can sit down and we can talk for like hours, right? So I can confidently say that the people that I talk to, those who I consider a friend, we all have at least one sessions where we talk for like at least 4 to 8 hours. And that's one thing I feel like is very interesting, because the conversation is very interesting personally for me. And I feel like the other person also feel very intrigued, because not a lot of people can, carry the conversations for that long, one-on-one sessions. And from that, I feel like, maybe I should share these kind of conversations more to people. And I feel like a lot of people could, benefit from just listening to those conversations. And this year I decided I want to build a podcast around it, so I can share all these knowledge and all these conversations out. Mm-hmm.
I love that we're on a podcast right here, right? So
Yes.
It's like so we are playing in this game here. Has a podcast started yet?
Sorry. I have the first episode. So I recorded the first episode last week, my friend. It went well. So I have a group. There's a podcast startup in Vietnam that they have the studio, and they, after our conversation, they lend their like professional studio for me, so I can use like at least once a week. So I did the first episode. I did all the editing to just learn how to do it. I already arranged around 3 to 5 more interview to do, but we'll have to wait for the next 2 weeks, because it's gonna be Lunar New Year soon. A lot of people are not in town. The studio's not operating right now, so I have to wait after like about February to start recording again.
Awesome. What's the name of the podcast?
The podcast would be Vietnam Rising. So basically, what I try to bring to the audience is the stories about Vietnam, about the rising economy right now. The rising economy right now, and it will, and the opportunities, and especially what I want to cover is how is the culture here, like how to do business here. Because from what I'm hearing from a lot of people that coming overseas to work in Vietnam, they all struggles of the culture's difference. Like the way the locals do business and the way other people do business, the Western do business is very different, and I want to shine a light on really how to do it.
Hey, let me just say it like this here. Let me acknowledge you, Tom, because you are a mover and a shaker. You make things come to life. Just 2 months ago, I got a chance to visit you and see you in Vietnam. And you were kind of just talking about this, like, I have this idea. I think I might want to go and do something with it. And now that we're talking here, you're like, yep, first episode's already done. Like we have the studio in place. We're moving here. I really want to acknowledge you for the things that you have been creating.
Sorry. Can you give me 1 second?
Absolutely. Awesome. So we're back here, and it's funny for me because I like to keep things real. Like I'm like, this is part of the journey. It's not always polished, right? Or it's like we do what we need to do to make things come to life. So I'm glad we were able to handle that. So I really just want to acknowledge you though for just the action that you've taken. It's like it was a thought, and then you brought, and now it's like, all right, first episode done. Got some partnerships going on. I know where I'm recording, like all this stuff here, and really bringing it out into the world. How does it feel to be not just like creating your own podcast, but really it feels like there's something about this that is more than just, hey, I'm having really good conversations with some friends and just listen to this here as from like a social area. But there's a mission behind this. It's like Vietnam Rising. Like I want to help people know this. How does it feel to really step into that mission and to really start bringing that to life?
I think it's all started from the first job that I had. That's why I brought it up in the beginning. Because the first role I ever participate in is to help Vietnam brands or products to export better, how to brand ourselves better, how to deal with customer better, like international customer better. So because of all that and because of what I see when I was working at that job, the first job that I had, I'm very affected by it and I'm very influenced by it. That's why it's always it's like a mission to me to find somewhere that I can really create values for people, the brands or Vietnam brands to be better. And I've been looking around for years already. So even with my family business, we do technology, but we also do import export. Basically, we help the companies in Vietnam to stay compliant with international regulations in regards of their products and how to export it. So it's always been a part of my journey to have that missions. So now when I have this podcast, I also want to shine a light on it because most of the conversations that the people that I firstly knew, that's the first thing I would talk with them. I would want to know, why did they start their journey? Why did they choose Vietnam? And what are the accomplishment or the challenges that they had because of choosing this country?
Awesome. Well, it's wonderful to see where you are on this journey, and I think that what I want to do is use this time to capture where you are right now, and not just look backwards at it, but do something that I think is really unique. And I'm really grateful for the tool of coaching that has allowed for this to come, which is to see where it is that you're headed now and how we can support you in doing that. Like, I think it's really quite clear you're an outlier, you're trailblazing forward on your journey. And I'd love to just spend some time just serving you. Right. Does that sound like it'd be good for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. So let's do this here. Let's, what I'm going to be looking for right now is, I know what it is. If there was one thing that we could talk about today that you feel would really accelerate you along your path, you're creating great things, and it would really accelerate you on your path, what would we need to talk about today?
One thing that accelerated me is
I'm going to pause really quickly, right? Because I'm not looking backwards here, right? Let's slow this down a little bit. Let's do this question instead. So Tom, if you and I were going to come in 3 years, right? And I'm coming down and I'm in Vietnam, and Vietnam Rising has done everything that you wanted to do. Like you're like, hey, in 3 years, look at where we are. Can you tell me a little bit about what would be happening at that time?
What will be happening at the time?
Yep.
Well, for me, I would. So in 3 years, I want Vietnam Rising to be one of the Vietnam specific podcasts where people, whenever they want to research or whenever they want to understand the culture, to think of. I also want it to be a podcast where Vietnamese that living overseas, we call it Vietkill or VK, overseas, and they would able to see what's happening at their home country, because I believe that's something that a lot of people in fashion is like the older generations, people in the world, they would want to know what's happening with the younger generations, and then the young generations who never been back to Vietnam, they could have a better understanding of what's happening in the country and if they can leverage it to become opportunities for them. And yeah, and from not only just being a podcast, we want to, of course, actually build a network of trusted people in the industry, of like in the economy in general, so that when there's people coming into Vietnam to, try to work in this country, then there's help available for them.
Awesome. I'm tempted to ask this question first. What else? What else would you like?
What else would I like? Well, I would like to make it a South Asia or an Asia podcast as well. So during building this podcast, I was very conflicted between if I should just keep it in just within Vietnam or just South Asia like in general. Because if just limiting in Vietnam, it means that I may be limited like people that like from other countries that based in other countries that also have very interesting and inspiring story to share as well. So if possible, then I would want to make not only Vietnam Rising podcast, but then I don't know, the rising sea, like South Asia. yeah.
Oh, that's really catchy.
I feel up all day already.
Yes, nice. I love it. I love it. Awesome. So thinking about that, like I'm just gonna invite you really quickly to. I'm hearing what the business and the podcast and things would look like, and the network and things that would look like, mm-hmm. Right? I'm curious. Like, take yourself to that same three years from now. Mm-hmm. See yourself in that, right? Who would you need to be able to really create this in the next 3 years?
I have to be someone honest and trustworthy, and I have to be someone that able to bring out not only the like the polished version and polished image of people when the guests come, like when people are recorded or like on video or on podcast, they will try to be the best of themselves. But I want to bring out also the other side or deeper sides in the guests or my guests, so that we can really see and the audience could really see and evaluate like if Vietnam is something for them. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think so I've been encountered with a lot of people, like they are my friends, they are BK, or they are like foreigners, they live here in Vietnam and they want to do business in Vietnam, and then they will come to me and say that I probably right now at the moment is the only locals person that they actually trust to want to do business with, and I want to continue to be that person.
Fantastic. So let's do this here without having to. For the rest of the conversation, we could go down the podcast route. We could go down so many other things here, but I'm going to just ask the question that's really on my mind here. If you and I were going to have a life-changing conversation today, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just put it out where at that level, right? What would we need to talk about for it to be a life-changing conversation?
I think to be about how to doing all that, and also balancing other aspects of my life. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest lessons I learned last year, as well as before. In my work, I was really concentrated in my work before, and that's all I do. Like I literally just go to work, go to gym, and just be at home. So that's all I did for like a few years past. And then last year, I have more free time. So I now experience, okay, I need to go out more. I need to do a lot of stuff. I need to see who am I besides just doing my work. And I think that would be bringing a lot of value to my work, because I want to do something that's meaningful to me, but it's also, have me inside, has my personality inside, something that I would love to share with the world. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit more here. I'm hearing some things that's around making sure that you're able to keep some of the freedom that you had here, and then there's another side of it around making sure that your personality is also a part of it here. Tell me a little bit more about like what's the challenge that you see in being able to create this?
Basically, I feel guilty if I don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So work is what defines me. And for me, I feel like I want to have some other aspect that is defining so that I could bring those values all together to my work.
Awesome. So let's play with that then, right? If you had, and I'll just ask you this question first, like if we took care of that and you had a new definition for yourself. Let's see here. We're breaking up a little bit, so I want to make sure that we're good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if we talked about this here and you were able to come to a place where you're like, oh, I actually have a new, like, I'm able to have a more robust identification, a more robust identity here, right? What would that give you that you don't currently have?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, if you were able to get to where you're like, yeah, actually, I have been able to reinvent or to have a more robust identity, right? Mm-hmm. What would that give you that you don't already have?
That would give me a clearer visions of where I want to podcast or my work to serve other people. Mm-hmm. Like right now, for what I'm telling you within our podcast is I want to share about this, like about the stories and how things happening here. But I need to become more robust to able to getting the real story out, the real like deep conversations out when people are on my podcast.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what's the fear that you have around that? Or what?
I feel I'm camped. Well, I'm not very familiar with like public my work online. So what I'm fearing is criticisms when the conversation or like the content is not good or like someone would disagree with our opinions and we would have backlash, and that's something that I feel like it would hold me back if I don't get over with it.
Awesome. So there are a couple of different things that I'm hearing right now. One of them is that what it's like to create something in the world. When you get into creation mode, you can make the work your entire identity. It can consume you. And there's that one aspect. Then there's another aspect of just being like this level of visibility of it seems that you're like, yes, you can be in the conversation and help people to have the deep, meaningful conversations that are talking about things that are very important within the context of what you want. But then there's this other part of, are you willing to be visible out there, to be open to the criticism, be open to any kind of backlash or anything from that? Am I getting that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Out of those two there, and maybe there's something else, which feels more important for you to explore?
I think it would be the second one.
Okay.
The criticisms. I think for bringing out of the conversations, I think it needs a lot of practice. That's what I was saying, because so we did the first episodes already, and I can see that I was able to start the conversation, start like very different, like bring out very different aspect of the topics. Yes, that would be something that I need to practice more. But yes, I would want to work on the criticisms first as one of the biggest obstacle right now for me, the biggest challenge for me.
Okay. All right, cool. So you down to play?
Huh?
Are you down to play?
Yes.
All right. All right, cool. Um, what, like, if this is the question I have, if tomorrow, right, if right as soon as you start launching your podcast, like it gets out into the world, and you do start getting some criticism around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the benefit of being able to get criticism? What would that mean in a positive way?
To really see the real, if it's just, if the criticism is contributions, it's like it could help to make the podcast better.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it would be benefit of getting criticism.
So let's play this game. Like, I'm going to write down some things here. We're going to do this. It's a game called a sentence stem, right? And you're going to, the way it is, I'm going to give you a prompt, and then you're going to repeat the prompt and then answer it with a different answer here, right?
Okay.
And what I'm just going to mess with your mind around a little bit here and see, like, is there something that's good about getting the criticism, right? Mm. So the sentence prompt is the benefit of criticism
is to improvement.
Okay. And so what I like to say is the benefit of criticism is, and then like just say the full sentence and then give me a different answer. And I'll write down your responses. We'll go with like 7 of them.
Okay. So, okay. All right. Yep. 7 of them, right? So we got 1 is improvement and enlightenment. 2, it would be.
Say the full sentence. The benefit of criticism is.
Oh,
and then
okay. The benefit of criticisms is to make myself, become more like take criticisms and rejections better.
Again.
Okay. The benefit of criticisms is to understand to able to filter which are contribution criticisms and which are things that you shouldn't, devalue to serve everybody. The benefit of criticisms is to filter out the noise and to understand what really are the values that you don't want to compromise. The benefit of criticism is to build yourself a tougher person, I guess. How many do we have? One more?
Just 2 more.
Okay, 2 more. The benefit of criticisms is to understand and appreciate the people that support you. And the benefit of criticisms is to getting thorough of new ideas and to explore new ideas and renovations and how to improve the work.
All right. So I have your answers here, and I can send them to you later on if necessary. But let me just check in with you right now. Yeah. If you had to like come up with any like general themes around like the benefit of criticism for you, what would you say? Like at its, what's one of the biggest things that you get as a result of criticism?
The biggest theme, the biggest result for getting criticisms from me is to be able to stand up and stay true with your values, with my values.
Yeah, that was really running through as an overall theme as you were speaking here. There was improvement. Make yourself be able to take criticism and rejection better. Filter out the noise to make sure that like it's really in line with your values. Being able to build yourself into a tougher person and understand that you have people who support you. while also being able to improve and like get new ideas and explore them and continue to refine and build from there. So my question is, why would you want to hold yourself out from getting all these opportunities for improvement?
Because the fear of getting rejections is worse than the rejection itself, I would say. So I feel that that's the fear that I have. Yeah, that I need to conquer it by facing it more.
Yeah, there's something in there. If I'm catching this right, it's like the fear of being rejected, of being criticized. And this is different. There's a difference between being rejected and criticized, right? But like let's call out the fear of being rejected in this case here. That is actually worse than actually being rejected.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's correct. Because like if there are 1,000 people that support you and then there's one person that reject you, then normally the 1,000 people should be like having more influence. But because I think people are fear of rejections a lot, so that one person rejection feels like stronger and heavier to us.
Yeah, there's we just have a thing about like as humans, there's something where our loss aversion is much higher than our like pain. Like I forget, I don't know I'm not saying it properly. I have to go and research it because I'm not able to articulate. I used to do behavioral economics, so I'm very much like around like that the loss of $2 it feels more painful than like the gain of $3.
Yeah.
So I understand that there. Let me also ask you. So the fear of getting a rejection, like I get that. That makes sense, and it's really really human there. What would you be rejecting about yourself if you didn't move forward? So right now we're talking external rejection. I'm curious, like in not moving forward there, what would you be rejecting about yourself?
So if I'm not moving forward with this project, then what would I reject about myself?
Yeah.
I would reject the fact that I'm not strong enough to face the rejections that I would have. And not persisting of what my decision is.
Yeah, I find myself really curious as to like what else you're missing, what you're missing out on. Like, okay, there's the rejection on one side, and I'm like, but there's a lot more that you continue to miss out on. And look, I'll be real with you. There's a reason why, like now I'm out here creating like these coaching podcast conversations, because there was a time where there was some cash flow going on in my business, and then about like you come in, you were talking about the first of the month. I was like, I get that. It's like, okay, wait, how's this all gonna come to life? And there was a question that I asked myself, which was, if everything ended, like if I needed to close down the business, if I needed to go and do something different, and it all ended, how would I feel about it all? And the word that just came to mind was regret. It's like, and the sentence that came to mind was, you wasted your time. You could have done it all, but you wasted your time there. And it's part of the reason that this podcast is now going out into the world, because there's an element of it that's like the words recently. I want to like make it sound great and everything, but it was like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die trying. This is going to come out and live in the world. So there's an element of me that's a little curious as to like, okay, you're right. The positive things that you're going to get from criticism may not outweigh the negative feelings that you might get as a result of the criticism. And if that's a space that we're playing in, I'm really curious about like the other negative things that you are now taking on as a result of not exposing yourself to that criticism.
Yeah, I think I would say it's because I feel like I need to get to the point where I know what I'm doing, or I need to figure out. Yeah, just similar to you, I would regret if I don't do it, because it's something that is close to my heart. And if I don't do it, then I would just regret it, because I wouldn't know how it goes. But I also, the other fear that I have is that it would be not a success.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be an example of my failures, and it's out there in the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those are two of the fears I have.
Yeah, I get that. So when you say it's not a success, but it's still out there in the world, help me understand. What is not a success for you?
Not a success is not getting a lot of people that that resonate with my content, or the ideas and topics that the discussions I put out. They don't feel that it's something influential or something that's valuable for them, and that would be something I consider is not a success.
So, a part of what I'm hearing is there a certain number of people that would need to either subscribe or feel that it's valuable before it crosses the threshold of success for you?
It's just cut out. So can you do it again?
Yep. The question that comes to mind is there a certain number of people that need to cross the threshold before you would consider it a success?
Yeah, would be my family. Would be people that they would consider this is something that I do that they think is a success.
So we cut out a little bit there. I did hear you say that your family was important.
Yes. Yes.
Was there others involved?
No. Well, I mean, friends and stuff, but my friends and people are very supportive, so I get from them is to improve my family. I think that I would want their support and their approval of my work.
So I just want to kind of call that out a little bit here, because like as much as it seemed at first that like the rejection and criticism and all that was from external people who are listening to your podcast and they don't necessarily agree with it and all that, that's where you started it here. Mm-hmm. But in actually going down to a deeper level here, this really seems to be, and it's not just, it's a big thing, that it really seems to be about how will your family be able to take it. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Can you hear me?
Just cut the video so the connection is better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's do this in audio for now. All right, because I want to make sure we wrap up. Because of this, I can't tell if you've cut out, so I might check in with you a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah. I can hear it clearly. Okay. So if you see I turn off the camera, that means that it's cut out a little bit, and then I just try to make the connections better.
Okay, that sounds good. So the thing is the question I think what I want to do right now, just like kind of just shine a light on what's real in this here, right? We were talking about like criticism, and it felt like it was like, oh, when I get this thing launched, what is everyone going to say about it? And really, where it comes down to is like it's the people that really matter is what is my family going to say? How are they going to consider this to be a success or not? Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And I don't know if there's anything that we need to do extra with that, like in the next like 5 minutes or so with it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to slow down and be able to take this thing that felt like it was about all these different people who are out there, and all of them and their what all those reactions might be, and instead be able to look at it and be able to see to hone in more around like where's the rejection that we're actually afraid of, the criticism where we're actually afraid of. And there's more to, especially when we come into the family, there's more to explore here than we'll have in this time here. But I do want to give us space to be able to pull that out, so that as you're doing this here and as you're thinking about this here, like you're able to reconnect back with the parts where you're able to see the issues as they truly lie versus the global overall story of like, what if it isn't a success? What if no one downloads it? It's not that for you.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So Tom, let's do this here. Let's wrap up this conversation here. I'm what I'm looking for right now. Let's see. I want to acknowledge you for the way that you've played this game. I want to acknowledge you for the game that you're playing. Because I think the big thing for me is like, you're someone who's you're going to create it. You know, like that. I got that very quickly. It's like this is going to happen here. The element of being, I think, just going through it with the awareness of being able to call out like the family relations along the way. And how you want that to be a success in their eyes. Like that gives you space to start being able to live true to your vision while also having the conversations that are necessary. And I think it goes back to the idea, the thing here around like, the same way you're looking at like, what is my identity is wrapped up in the work, and being able to redefine that. There may be a place where of redefining what success is. What if your family's opinion was not necessarily tied to whether or not this was a success? So I'll leave you with that to go and think through. We can talk again a little bit later here, because there's some more to unpack with that. But it's a nice place to just be able to look at it and see like, this might be what's really going on within here. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I also know like you're someone who will be able to create it all. Now the question becomes, are you willing to put it out into the world so it can be visible in this way?
Yeah. This is a very good session. Thank you. I always feel like you're someone that is very good at guiding people out, and whenever we have a conversation, then it's truly enlightening me in many ways, and to really dig deep into myself to see what's really going on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for playing. Thank you for being willing to model what it is that you're asking other people to do, and to come in and be able to be deep, be vulnerable, and really share what's going on for them there. And I think that it's an honor to give you an experience of that, as well as you go on and ask others to do it and move forward. So let's end the conversation here. I'm going to speak one more time to everyone else that's out here. Right? So the thing that comes up more than anything else is the areas of being true to yourself. And as you continue on your journey, can you allow yourself to be just that bit more open to being more true to yourself? As we talk about recreating and such, there's an element of, do I need to do it all at once? And sometimes the easiest way that we can make this come to life is by just choosing to make that micro adjustment toward more of what it is that we're looking for. I'm Niiamahashong. I'm looking forward to serving you in the Trailblazer Oasis. We'll talk again soon.